Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashion Conservatives Midweek Podcast. I'm Justin Phillips, and with me, as always, is the man known to the X-verse as Dirk McGurk. Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest soldier.
And we are going to be talking about David Crowley, who started off the week hot, but then imploded today on the 22nd with some really odd news. So I think we got to start with the Marquette Law Poll and the two other polls that came out today. We had a poll from the Crowley campaign. We had a poll from the Barnes campaign, and both of them showed Francesca Hong with a sizable lead, but both of them had David Crowley in second or Mandela Barnes in second, but trailing a lot. So let's start there, and then maybe we can get into Crowley's burner X account, Shadow Gov. Well, what an odd day.
Oh, it's been fantastic. Just get your popcorn ready. It's been one heck of a show, and we're going to continue to watch it. And this is all, of course, we have a debate in less than a week.
Yeah,
and that's going to be spicy, I'm sure. I think we're going to get the primary debate that Republicans deserved. This is like 2022 was bad for Republicans. But this is a new level. This is a whole new level, I think, that we weren't expecting. But long story short, there were so many numbers getting thrown out there today. There were so many numbers being thrown out by the Marquette Law Poll, by, like you said, the internals from the Mandela Barnes and the Crowley campaign. That's kind of hard. We could sit here for 20 minutes just talking about numbers. But the common theme, the overarching theme of all of those numbers is that Francesca Hong has solidified herself as the front runner.
Yes.
And by I would say a country mile, but it's pretty close to that.
It's certainly a comfortable margin, and certainly if you're Francesca Hong at this point, you have to play prevent defense and just not make any unforced errors. Don't go on any podcasts or interviews with people that can paint you into corners or get you to say something. That's all it is.
Don't go to a BLM protest and say something stupid, something like that. But no, she's doing what she has to do so far, which is good. She's got her little TV ad out. It's talking about Tom Tiffany. She's kind of putting the primary in the rear view mirror a little bit. Was with a nice little ad, although pedophile protector is a bit of a strong word, I suppose. But
it's pretty, that's harsh. And besides the fact that it's wrong, it's also just a harsh thing for voters to hear. And maybe too much for them. Maybe could backfire a little. We'll see. But Crowley had an ad too, and I thought that's where we'd start this episode. I thought we'd just be talking about, does David Crowley have a shot? Because he comes out of the weekend. He's endorsed by Tony Evers via press release while he's in Africa on some sort of trade mission. He releases an ad that takes aim at both Francesca Hong and the Republican Governors Association, who, for those who don't know, the RGA dropped an ad that seemed to highlight Francesca Hong's most progressive policy positions, but in a way that celebrated them a little bit, and that was running on MSNBC, it was running on CNN, so it seemed to be like the RGA was playing in this race, and before people start to talk about or think about how dirty that could be or how problematic that is, let's not forget that the Democrats have been doing this for several cycles now, and most prominently in 2022 when they were playing for trying to elect the weakest Republicans. And they did, in fact, succeed in a lot of those races by, running these ads that said that Carrie Lake is a strong conservative or Dr. Oz is the person who's closest to Trump, and voters bought it, and they voted for those people and became Democrats' top targets. And, they were able to retain or take back seats that they otherwise wouldn't in a midterm. So this has been happening for a while now. But yeah, David Crowley's takes aim at that ad by the RGA. He talks about being the only one who can take on Donald Trump and take down Republican Tom Tiffany.
Yeah, and then he also, like he said, he mentions that RGA ad, which is, of course, boosting Francesca. And he doesn't put her entire face on there, but you can definitely tell who it is. They just have a part of her face, and so you could definitely tell who it is. And I mean, he's got to do this. I mean, you got 2.5 weeks here, 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks here. You got to start landing some punches. So this was bound to happen. And kudos to the media team. Took the B-roll from his announcement and turned it around real quick, and now he's up on TV with his fresh $150,000 he got in the bank over the weekend. Although I don't know how long that buy is. But the point being, back to the numbers, to summarize all of the polls, it was all like Francesca Hong, 35%, Mandela Barnes, 22%, and then depending on what internal you had, Crowley at 14, 15%. Or they had a scenario where Barnes and Crowley were neck and neck at 14 and 15%.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the one that really stood out to me, is David Crowley releasing an internal poll today, same day as the Marquette Law Poll, same day as Mandela Barnes releasing an internal. But it showed that, so the Crowley one showed that Hong had 35% of the support. Barnes had 15, Crowley had 14. And then it had I think it had Joel Brennan there at like 3% or something. Like, it definitely, it was weird that Crowley would release a poll that would show him in third place. It was 15-14, so you couldn't even like force a rounding error to get you statistically tied with Barnes. So that's one thing that stands out to me. But the other is like just the calculus of like, not only does David Crowley need Mandela Barnes' support to be halved, like he needs a majority, a strong majority of the undecideds. And I don't know. I mean, like, I think there's evidence that like the undecided voters can be swayed by the Tony Evers endorsement, that they are ready to come home to the establishment, I guess, quote unquote, moderate candidate, the pragmatic candidate, as opposed to the bomb throwing progressive, wild card in Francesca Hong. But they said that saying you're in third place in a poll with a week or 2 weeks to go, he's doubled his support since he dropped out, and he's still like tripled, I guess, technically his support, but from 5 to 14% is not a lot.
Well, there's just not a whole lot of time, and time is running out, and time is of the essence. And so, of course, the Crowley campaign and the Mandela campaign, I'm assuming, are going to try to, they want the talking point about the one shred of evidence that they can pull from any of the polls that say they're winning. For example, Crowley, when you removed all the other opponents except for Francesca, he's beating her by a point. So basically, if everyone got in a car crash except for Francesca Hong, he'll beat her. Except for that's not going to happen, and no one else is dropping out. So, okay,
and we could talk about that for a minute, because yes, there's no evidence that anyone is going to drop out of the race. I know there are people who are saying, well, Mandela Barnes just needs to get out of the race, or Joel Brennan just got out and those support went to Crowley, or Kelda got out. But the fact is, when you kind of expand it, the way you get these people out of the races, for the most part, as we learned in the 2022 cycle to coronate Mandela Barnes, is you give them something. And there's nothing, right? It is wholly transactional. Sarah Godlewski got the Secretary of State's position this way. You can't really force out Mandela or Joel Brennan. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute, but he's very clearly in. I think if there's one who you could kind of buy out, it would be him with a cabinet position, but he's already had it and he hasn't shown any sign of wanting it back. Mandela, like, he's not going to be county executive. He's not going to be mayor of Milwaukee. He's not going to be the Congress. He's not going to take over for Gwen Moore. No. Like Gwen Moore is waiting for her son.
Yeah, unless
Chevy Johnson's going to be primaried by Ryan Clancy. Joel Crowley's going to be primaried or challenged by Chris Larson. They're going to be challenged from the left, so you can't just slot him into a different elected position. And to say like, well, Kelda should drop out. Well, her option is what, Senate in 2 years, but you can't clear that field. And Ben Wickler is like right around the corner. And then you say, well, maybe we can get Mark Pocan to drop out. Well, Mark, that takes a lot for Mark to give up his congressional seat. And then
he would never give it up to Kelda, of course.
Exactly. He won't give it up. And then on top of it, like, you still have to assume that, the polling shows right now that Francesca Hong is leading in the primary, but she's toxic in the general. So in the world where Francesca Hong loses in the general, then it's Kelda and her for Pocan's seat. And Kelda's not going to primary Pocan, but Francesca could. So, there's no angle to get those people out. People got out of the race, and they gave it to Biden at the presidential level in 20 because they promised cabinet positions, because Liz Warren's entire staff got to go to the Biden office. Like, unless David Crowley's saying to Kelda Roys that, like, I'm going to implement 100% of your policy, and he did run the campaign of a white woman, so it's entirely plausible. Like, but what Kelda really get out of that? Like, well, so there's, like I said, the fact is, I think that the candidates, I would very much doubt any candidate drops out at this point.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the biggest takeaways, I mean, the thing is, Francesca Hong's been in the lead this entire time. So seeing that she's in a solid position, not surprising at all. What I think is the most surprising, and the biggest winner actually from the Marquette Law Poll outside of Francesca, Mandela Barnes, who actually polled the best against Tom Tiffany in November.
Correct. Right. So, and that Marquette Law Poll had him up 4 among registered and then 5 among likely. I might have those flipped. I'm not looking at it right now.
Yeah, and frankly, the number, like, semantics of 1 or 2 points. The point being is Mandela did the best. And if I'm Mandela, that's the number I'm pitching. Sarah's out of the race. Everyone saw Sarah as the most electable candidate. All right, she's gone. Crowley's been somewhat coronated by Tony Evers as the electable candidate who can actually get it done in November. And, as Francesca says, the most electable candidate is the one that wins the primary. And Crowley's just not going to do it at this rate. And Mandela Barnes, if he could somehow find, maybe $500,000 in cash or something, he might be able to actually do something about it. But at this point, it's not a reality. But it is interesting to show that Mandela does have, at least in a general election, the ability to win. So we have the Democrats are flying over Francesca, who's polls the worst in the general election against Tom. They're saying step aside Mandela, who's polling the best against Tom Tiffany, and they all want to put their chips on David Crowley, who's not going to even win the primary. So this defies all political logic, but this is the political knot that the Democrats have tied themselves in on their own doing. They created that. They fostered this base. They fed it. They allowed it to continue to prosper, and to the DSA, the socialist wing, to gain more power. And now they are fully going to probably experience the hurt that goes along with it. And I guess that's what their loss is, our gain.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to touch on from the Marquette Law Poll that stood out to me is, I was ready to throw this thing out. And I think a lot of people had assumed there was nothing of value really in there because it didn't have David Crowley in, but it had Sarah Rodriguez in. And there was some irony in Sarah Rodriguez actually being up a point in a general matchup versus Tom Tiffany. And then again, her campaign completely implodes, but she's got to be thinking, man, if the primary was a couple weeks later, I could get back in too and still make the case, because Crowley isn't doing it. And that has a lot to do with his burner account. If you're ready to talk about that, Shadow Gov, this is the oddest thing. So we didn't dig this up. No one on the conservative right
that I'm aware of
had any knowledge of this. So this initial attack came from, I think it was NBC News
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything, and we've said it before, and we're not the first to say it, but if you know anything about the left wing media, they only attack Democrats in service of another Democrat. And I would like to believe that this oppo drop came from Mandela Barnes's campaign as a 1-2 punch with his polling that shows him closer to Francesca Hong than Crowley is. But David Crowley has a burner account that was started 16 years ago. So, started tweeted mostly between 2010 and 2012, and has some odd statements that were, crude, hits against women, had some things about the gay community that, were unbecoming, certainly not anywhere close to the appearance that he's cultivated over the past couple of years of the, articulate, problem solving, pragmatic Democrat from Milwaukee. It was like, I could read a couple of these. We pulled a few of our favorites out.
It's probably not. I mean, it's just kind of an odd, like, it's not your typical just like, oh, they're saying naughty words and like super crass. I mean, some of them are like, to the average Democrat voter, it isn't like, it's horrible, not great. Some of it, like, I'm like, okay, that's kind of a joke, but maybe in poor taste. I would I make that joke? Probably not. But for the Democrat primary voter, this is like, radiation. This is a nuclear bomb going off in their hands. And obviously, so someone knew about this account. It's got like 70 followers, has been dormant for 14 years. The only way that this stuff gets found out is someone that knows about the account tells someone else, probably someone that's close to David. And then probably, just shares it with one of the opponents, and it goes up the chain from there.
Yep, and they got someone to bite on the story. And it's just so odd. So some of the things in here, so here's the thing is about a lot of these statements, though, is David didn't do he didn't own it. Like, he immediately said, well, this is like 10 to 12 people were on this account. And I think one of them, I saw a tweet or a post that said that one of the people that he's throwing under the bus has passed away. Like, he didn't be, David's also, he's 40, right? And in 2010, X was still pretty new. I think it launched in like 9 or 10. So like,
08, 09,
there wasn't the full awareness about the stupid stuff you can say. And on top of, it was an anonymous account, and, he's 40. So in 2010, you're 24.
Yeah.
20. So, and I mean, that's not old enough to necessarily be able to hand wave. He's still an adult. And so you could still make the case that he should have known better than say things. And yes, I agree with that. But again, we're not the side that's attacking him for this. And we're also not the Me Too side, the ones that were digging, during that Me Too era, were digging up decades old comments and jokes and tweets from, random celebrities to cancel them. Like, they're the side that invented cancel culture. And so for us, we just get to, say, this is the game you created. These are the rules we're playing by, and we're just going to call, we're going to be a part of it.
Well, and that's the main thing. This is their ecosystem, and these are the Democrat rules that they have to abide by. And if they don't like them, well, tough crap. That's just the way it is. So, am I upset that the Democrats are fighting about this burner called Burt McGirt?
Yeah, Dirk McGurk.
Dirk McGurk. Sorry, forgive me.
Yeah,
which I believe is a Wu-Tang Clan reference that is vague, and I don't even fully understand it. I'm not going to pretend that I even know, but I thought I saw someone floating around that it was like a Wu-Tang Clan play on words. Needless to say, though, this has been and of course it's timed impeccably to go off during the Marquette Law Poll. So if there's any good press from Crowley, it just gets absolutely nuked into oblivion because of this story. And, well, tough for Crowley. He's polling, second or third in his own his own internal by 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this dropped on your head. So
yeah, and again, there's some just it's not just out and out a few things are just out and out crass and crude, and some of them are just kind of oddball ones that like you shouldn't actually post. It's out here, you bought her a 2 drinks and still didn't get any play. I call that hashtag Trickin' Thursdays, aka Ladies Night, LOL. Or here's the one that gets me is, again, because it's the choice of language, and that Mandela Barnes has already been knocked for this sort of language before, but re lakefront ... Why are so many ratchet as people down here? Next time I'm down here early. So apparently there were too many ratchets at the lakefront on May 23rd of 2010.
Yes.
Or
yes.
if and this is one that, like, if you, again, stupid things you say, but again, as he was 24, he's not 14. But if you would like me to participate in hashtag Wang Wednesdays, please DM me at the account is no_pork_PLZ, LOL, ha ha ha. Hashtag don't judge me. Just oddball, quirky, like weird, very slightly offensive statements from a 24-year-old who is now trying to throw his dead friend under the bus. And instead of being like, yeah, I made some stupid jokes when I was a long time ago, like, you do that and it probably goes away. Like, or it doesn't, like, away. if you don't feed it and you don't try to make excuses and try to make it a whole thing, you'd be like, I made some dumb jokes a long time ago. The end. Like, I remember, like, they came after, what was his name? Josh Hader of the Milwaukee Brewers closer about this stuff, but he was 14 and he was tweeting rap lyrics that I think had some, words that white folks can't say in there. And, of course he deletes it. He gets off Twitter. And people forget about it, even though I think there's like that small crowd that's like, oh, you should be traded or cut, and we don't need that kind of behavior in Milwaukee and blah, blah, blah. Well, but like, those people get, the eye rolls about those people. But
there is
here you have a 24-year-old man saying it that's now running for governor.
There's something to be said about, yes, kids, even young people say dumb stuff. Adults say dumb stuff too. But we are going to get lower and lower quality politicians when good people are afraid to run for office because of something that they did or what they said online when they were young. I mean, think about all of the Snapchats, Snapchat, the pictures that stay there and then they go away forever. Well, they don't go away forever. They're somewhere on some server you just aren't aware of. But then, I mean, imagine the amount of videos and pictures of people doing unsightly things, offensive things that are out there in the ether and could be dropped at a moment's notice. And you'll have 50-year-old politicians someday running, and they'll have a Snapchat from they were like 18.
That's coming close.
Oh yeah, we're dangerous.
We're right on, and I think there needs to be some sort of general agreement about the statute of limitations on stupid stuff you said a certain amount of time ago. Now, I don't know exactly when the date is, but as someone, I'm on the older side of elder millennial, I guess they would say, and I was 18 years old when Facebook launched, and you still needed to have a .edu email account to access Facebook. And the amount of pictures that were taken for anyone in that age range at the college level who are, partying, drinking, doing stupid stuff when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, that is on somebody's Facebook that you have lost touch with because they transferred schools that semester and you completely forgot about because you detagged yourself, and they've forgotten about this. That person has 100% forgotten that this album exists, but they have left it on their Facebook page for so long. And I think there needs to be a statute of limitations. I would say that this is on the long. This is right at that point.
I'll say this. I believe that yes, all this stuff that comes out on these candidates will give us crappier politicians instead of people that actually, they made a mistake, but they're still good, honest people. However, this idea that there's going to be a truce and that that people won't do it is probably a fool's errand, mainly because if I were to find some, I would still probably use it.
No, I think, yes, but I think you're going to see diminishing returns on that when there's like this acknowledgement that everyone has that stupid Snapchat, that has that, again, that Facebook album that is forgotten about for so long from when they were 18 years old. Like that stuff comes out, and yeah, when you're 50 years old, a 20, 30-year-old Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter account, whatever, like it should be forgotten about. It should not represent the people. But yeah, you're right. I think there's a strong chance that there's a lot of people who are like, I know there's a photo out of me that I can't get rid of off the internet because I don't know the person who took it, or I'm not friends with them anymore and I've lost touch with them. And if that drops, my career is over. And they don't want to go through that humiliation ritual that will come from the left-wing media trying to expose it. So I get that. I do. But
we'll see what the electorate, I guess, decides in 10 years from now, and we'll see if we'll change our views or not.
But again, we were talking about something that is inside the Democratic circles. Like this isn't done by Republicans. There's no Republicans pouncing on a 15-year-old Twitter account by David Crowley. This is 100% Mandela Barnes' team or another team, but I have to assume it's Mandela Barnes.
You have to assume he has the most to lose or gain.
Yes. So he can drop this. It goes to NBC News, picks it up. They use it to attack Crowley. And maybe he pushes Crowley's numbers down enough that he can get past Francesca. Maybe, I don't know, like that plus some decent polling in the broadest sense of the word gives him a chance at it. So I guess we'll see what the rest of the week brings, or if someone's going to dig up some old stuff on Mandela, because we know that's out there. We know there's stuff about Francesca Hong that's still floating in the rumors circle that stuff drops too. You could be seeing a real change in the perception of her, and maybe turn some people off in the general, or certainly in the primary.
Yeah, no, certainly agree. We'll have to see what happens there.
With that, folks, hope you have a good rest of your week. We have some stuff that we didn't even get to tonight that we're going to have to lead with on our next episode. We didn't even get to talk about the fact that Joel Brennan's a racist, and the Dems are trying to rig this primary, or have been trying to rig it by asking WEC to reconvene some rules and change them mid-election. So a lot of stuff we're still going to have to get to, and there's still more days of news coming up that might even drop some crazier stuff than a 15-year-old Twitter account from Dirk McGurk, aka David Crowley. So with that, have a great rest of your week, and we look forward to talking to you very soon.